Welcome to This Week in Poker. I'm Brian, and today on the show we have poker pro Prad Friedman, the Tina Fey of poker, Jess Wellman, going over the poker headlines, and on Skype later we have PokerTell's expert Joe Navarro breaking down Durr's hands for us, or tells. Justin Bieber fan club thing?
I think it's like the Bieber convention in Vegas, so he's not going to be here today.
That's what it is. Maybe
we're actually on. So.
I'm filling in for Chops today, so I'm kind of not used to sitting here.
And over there in the corner, so we let you come out of the corner. You said last week nobody puts Brian in the corner,
and I'm not in the corner. It's kind of weird. And then when I walked in today, they had me do like a new intro, and it threw me off, and Chops broke out of his Justin Bieber fan club meeting, is on Skype with us.
Me, but not so lucky.
But as I mentioned, that was a new intro that we did for the show. But to back up a little bit, we have Prad Friedman in the studio today. He's more than a poker pro. He's a runner, a rapper, a basketball player, a vegan, and a little bit of everything. Yeah. We also have Jess will be on with us in a little bit, and she's fresh off her 7th place victory at the Detox Poker Tournament in Las Vegas this past weekend. And then later on in the show we have Joe Navarro, who's going to be, we shared 2 videos with them of Durr playing Poker After Dark, and he's going to be going over his tells. One hand where Durr is weak and wins the hand, another where he's strong and ends up folding. So that should be interesting.
Oh, Durr's lucky Navarro's not at his in his games, huh?
Have you met Joe Navarro before?
I haven't.
Okay, it's pretty, like, I've had him watch me play poker, and it's pretty freaky. Like, the guy, he's an ex FBI agent, counterterrorism expert, and I mean, it's pretty freaky, like, how good he is at, like, deciphering poker tells. And
does he play poker?
He doesn't play. He's never, like, played poker, and he actually thinks that's somewhat. I mean, he understands poker. Yeah. He understands, like, how the game works and whatnot. But I mean, he really is just watching, like, that non-verbal behavior.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so, Chops, we're going to come back to you in a little bit, and first go to Jess with the poker headlines.
All right. Yeah.
I think we're waiting on, they're going to dial in Jess, and Jess just, we have Jess yet? So Jess just won, or no, she finished 7th in the, hey Jess. There you are. How's it going?
It's all right. How are you guys?
Pretty good. Congratulations on your 7th place finish in the Detox Poker event. You had everybody on Twitter talking about it.
Everybody.
It was 8th, though.
It was 8th. Ooh. I keep saying 7th.
I'll take 7th. Like, we can pretend it's 7th.
How much?
Know the difference.
How much did you win?
I won $3,140, which is sadly my biggest score to date. But I was free-rolling the event. I won a media free roll that Matt Savage kindly put on. So, free $3,000. Can't complain.
I know. How many players played in it?
Just about 400, little over.
Any pros?
Joe Tehan won the whole thing. Who else was there? Alon Schwartz played. Keith Gibson played. There are a few others.
Look at that picture.
Wow.
Look how this is focused me.
No
wonder I came in 8th place.
We were following this. I think Pokerati was covering this almost like it was the WSOP main event.
I know. It shows how much media attention Matt Savage can bring to a series. A $350 event. I was treated like, I did exit interviews. I did everything.
I love it. Well, this probably makes you the 2nd best poker player for at Bluff Magazine.
To compete with, if I had to play Eric Moritz heads up, I'd probably just resign. I would be like, I can't.
Your 3,100 is only like a 1/10 of what he won in the main event, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So what's going on in the poker world?
Well, besides the Detox series, the tournaments are starting to get back into the swing of things. Everybody got a little bit of a geography lesson, learning where Tallinn is, because that was the season opener for Season 7 of the EPT in Tallinn, Estonia. Change of pace over Kiev from last year. They got bigger numbers than Kiev, which was expected considering there was that change in Russian gaming laws that resulted in moving the spot at the beginning of Season 6. Final table ended up being a bit anticlimactic. Kevin Stani of Norway took it down for about $515,000.
That guy looks European. Is that a hat?
just the headpiece.
Yeah.
Let's not besmirch it by calling it just a hat. Everybody was kind of hoping that Arnaud Matern would take it down, and because there's never been a two-time EPT winner and he had a chance to do it, seems like there's a bit of a curse on the EPT winners when it comes to trying to bring down a second title. The guy who won cracked Arnaud's queens with threes, three-handed, and rode that chip lead onto the victory.
Yeah, and this was the first stop of this season of the EPT, right?
Yes.
So what's next?
Next is Vilamoura in Portugal in about 2 weeks.
Okay. And how come, I read on Twitter all these other poker media types get to go to these tournaments in faraway places, and you're stuck in Vegas doing This Week in Poker, doing Poker Road, and I guess Bluff Magazine. How come you don't get to go on these great trips abroad?
I don't get to go to Estonia, but I do get to go to like Connecticut, Indiana. Part of it is the World Poker Tour doesn't really have too many international stops. They're working on expanding it, but that's who I work for, so I will typically travel domestically. And now that Poker News has been doing the vast majority of the live updates, most places don't send people anymore. So Bluff doesn't live report. We don't go too many places outside of the World Series and a couple other odds and ends here and there. I think we did the Heads Up, PCA, that we don't make a huge effort to be at every tournament because we're not live updating from it.
Okay. What else is going on?
Well, we had a lot of Poker TV this week. Big Game came back with new episodes, World Series, main event coverage started, and I missed this because I don't have GSN. I couldn't find it on PokerTube, but the Doubles Poker Championship premiered on GSN this week with host Lacey Jones. I've heard it's a really interesting format. I remember hearing a lot of buzz about it when it was taping, but it seems like, considering most people seem to be getting their poker coverage on the internet this week, their poker TV, or these day and age, might not have the following that people hope it will, considering it's a bit hard to find at the moment. Although I'm going to send out the Kev Math signal and see if he can pop the link up in the chat.
Is it just a one-time event, do you know, or are they planning to do more?
I don't know that. It's one of those, they'll probably play it by ear as it goes. Considering I heard that World Team Poker is getting a second event, maybe if that one can get a second event, I think just about anything can get a second event.
I still can't figure out the excitement behind the World Team Poker because Phil Hellmuth keeps tweeting about it. Do you play it? Are you playing it?
I'm not invited to these things.
I met the woman who's running it, but it's just like, there's been nothing like it before, and I was like, Dream Team? Poker, anybody?
Jess, what's going on with HR 2267? There's some news there, right?
A little bit of, not movement, but progress, because the NFL has officially announced that they are not opposing the bill anymore. Having the NFL as someone who's not necessarily on our side, but not out to get the bill anymore makes a big difference. They rescinded their problems with the bill thanks to the King Amendment, which was an amendment we all saw coming, which excludes sports betting from regulated online gambling, which I think everyone has no qualms with, really. So that's the big step. It's not a make or break situation, but having these people not actively opposing it is one less big lobby to deal with. So good news.
Anything else going on?
Well, we had the announcement of the World Poker Tour is coming to Florida. I know that everyone was kind of wondering which tour was going to end up getting the big Florida stops, and WPT ended up making a deal with all of the Hard Rock casinos in Florida. So they're going to have an event at the end of April in Hollywood, Florida, which is up near Miami, but they also have the ability to throw events in Seminole or any of the other Hard Rock casinos in Florida, and keep the other tours from coming into Florida because those are really the big casinos to go to.
Yeah, I think the only other places to play are like High Life, Frontons, and the dog tracks, pretty much, right?
I've not checked out the Florida gaming scene,
Okay.
I have to admit. I know the Isle Casino, I think, was the one that did the Florida State Poker Championship that Mattisau won in the past couple of weeks. I don't think that's a very big room, though. WPT getting the Hard Rock is a bit of a coup for them, and I think another sign that the tour is expanding and really trying to appeal to the players with some more interesting stops that aren't the same old Borgata, Foxwoods.
Yeah, and this happened because the cash games used to be capped there, right? And now it's completely open.
Yeah, you used to only be able to sit down with $100 a pop, so no matter the limit. So people would sit down in 2-5 with $100 each and basically go all in blind on the first hand to try to build up stacks and have people rebuy. Now that they've loosened those regulations, everybody knew that eventually this was going to happen. It was just a matter of when, and now we have the answer to that.
Yeah, and then the Women's Poker Hall of Fame, there's some news there, right?
Yes, they're inducting 3 new people in September, Jennifer Harmon, Kathy Liebert, and Billy Brown, who you may not have heard of. She's not a player. She is...
The man.
Tell me the truth. Did you have to Google her name when you saw that in the headline?
Not for This Week in Poker, but when I first reported on the story, I did have to look it up a little bit. But thankfully, the wise Linda Johnson filled me in that she is a tournament director. She was one of the first people to come up with the idea of having guaranteed prize pools, which big step towards really advancing and expanding tournament poker. This is the second year of the Hall of Fame. I think people are raising some eyebrows at how many years they're going to be able to find women that are deserving of going in there. If I were them, I don't know if I would induct 3 a year. I would do maybe 1 or 2 to
My
see.
wife in there.
How long until you're inducted, Jess?
Yeah. Vote for D. Oh, God. I hope a long time from now. Otherwise, I'm going to feel a little old.
Yeah. But, I mean, like you said, I mean, there's very few women really involved in poker that are at that stature that could be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, they'll have to be going pretty young pretty soon, I think.
Yeah.
I think so. And the big question is, why is Annie Duke not in there? It's because the people who run the Women's Poker Hall of Fame are part of the LIPS Poker Tour. And so there's a caveat in the Hall of Fame that you don't have to play in ladies' events, but you do have to support ladies' events. Since Annie very actively speaks out against ladies' events, she's not going to be getting in there anytime.
It's more of a club, maybe, than a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, think of it as like some sort of, like a Friars Club type of honor, more so than the Poker Hall of Fame. We'll see. It's new. We'll see in a few years if it really catches on and is a prestigious thing. That being said, congratulations, Jennifer, Kathy, and the late Billy Brown, who is being inducted posthumously. So.
And anything else out there? Is that pretty much it?
I'd throw in a fun one for you guys. We've been doing fun news from 2+2. There is a new site out there that is allowing students to bet on their grades at college. You can only bet up to $25, but you can wager if you're going to get an A, if you're going to get a B, and the amount of money you can potentially win is rated based on your GPA, how hard the class is, that sort of thing. I was surprised to see that there are a lot of they're letting 36 schools do it. I thought it would be like community colleges, party schools, smaller schools. There's a lot of big name schools on here. Princeton and both of my alma maters, USC and Indiana, are taking part too. So already 2+2, of course, is trying to determine if there's a way to beat the system, to fake your grades, to make money out of it. But at $25 a pop, I don't know if it's really worth it.
Yeah, I mean, how much can you win off a $25 bet? Like, say you bet that you'll get an A.
Oh, I think you can only win $25 max.
Okay.
Like that, you can't bet 25 and then win 150. I think you can bet like 10 and win 25. So, but the one thing that it does potentially bode for more seriously in the future is that people saying it's illegal online gambling, the people who run the site and several academic institutions have said this is a skill-based type of betting, therefore it's not a part of online gaming. So if this ever gets contested and that argument holds up, poker has a chance of using the same argument to contest online gaming in the terms of online poker being legal.
Yeah. Well, cool. Good stuff. It's nice to see that you're still working, that you didn't take that money that you won and quit and stop working.
Yeah, the lucrative business of being the Tina Fey of poker for This Week in Poker, how could I pass up this kind of money?
Yeah. Well,
you're stuck with me for the foreseeable future.
Well, thank you, and we'll see you again next week, next Tuesday.
Good.
Actually, you'll be in town for the bike, right? For the Legends of Poker?
So I'll either be coming to you from the bike, or
you can come sit. You can come sit in the corner with me next week.
Ooh, fun.
Back to your corner.
Well, thank you, Jess.
Good luck, Prahlad. I hope you take it down a second time in a row.
She's wishing you
luck.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry.
Good luck. No worries.
Repeat.
Good luck. I hope you repeat. Take it down again.
I'm going to try. There'll probably be more people to fight through this time since I made it 5K, but I'll be playing my best.
Well, thank you, Jess. We're going to have Chops on Skype now during Prahlad's interview.
All right, sounds good. See you guys.
All right, see you. Thank you. Yeah, so you're defending champ of the Legends of Poker. And you weren't playing many WPT events before that, were you?
No, not really. Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not too into like playing all the tournaments. Kind of got the family thing going.
Yeah.
And got a lot of dogs, fish, tortoises. Got the zoo at the house.
Yeah.
Got a stepson. So I can't really just travel all around playing every single tournament.
So how are you deciding what tournaments you play in? I'm
going pretty local.
Yeah.
Usually I play Commerce, and then I play the bike sometimes, most of the time. And then I play the final event, the World Series of Poker, and then I play maybe a Bellagio event.
Yeah.
I'm like 5 events maybe a year. In the past, sometimes I'd even play 3 events. But then since I won one, I started adding a bunch of them. Right. I tried to get Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I failed doing that. It's pretty tough to do, but you know, when I'm doing well in them and I'm winning them,
yeah.
It makes me want to go out and play more of them.
It seems like that. I mean, you kind of disappeared after 2006, more or less, from the tournament scene, and came back in 2009. You made a deep run, pretty deep run in the main event, right? Like
64th.
Yeah. And then you won the WPT Legends of Poker. So I mean, it seems like when you make that decision to come back, you do pretty well.
Yeah.
Especially considering the average poker player out there is playing, 10 plus events a year. You're playing, 2 or 3.
No, I've done pretty well for the number I've entered. So I mean, maybe I should play more, but I just feel like cash games are probably more profitable in the long run.
Yeah.
So I think the tournament is more about, people trying to build up their fame or something, because they get a lot of TV coverage.
Yeah.
But, if you're just trying to get the money, then cash games, I think, is better. You don't have to pay for all your expenses, and, can work out a little better. There's some juicy cash games still. Even with all the books and all the, poker shows and everything available, there's still bad players. It's crazy.
Are you playing mostly cash online, or are you playing, at the Commerce and?
Mostly online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what stakes I know, like back in the day, I mean, you were like one of the original nosebleed players, and we'll talk about that in a second too, with the whole UB super user scandal. But what stakes were you playing then, and what stakes are you playing now?
I used to play anywhere from 10, 20, or 10, 25, all the way up to 25, 50, then 50, 100. It just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I went up to playing 2, 400. It's about the biggest I went. Played some head up, 2, 400, no limit. Did that for a little bit. I'm pretty sure I got cheated there.
Yeah.
Some Swedish hacker guy. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And that was before. That was after the UB super user scandal, right?
That was during. Kind of. Just cheating, getting cheated everywhere. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw, we posted part 2 of our Ultimate Bet super user scandal.
That. Yeah, I read through that a little bit.
And we talked a lot about you, and back then you were playing against Ivy and Doyle and Helmuth and just killing the game, and then all of a sudden you started losing to these players you didn't even know. Let's call them Russ Hamilton and his partners.
122 Russes or something like that, whatever it was.
I mean, at that time, did you suspect something was going on? That had to hurt personally, or psychologically, because you'd figured out how to win these games, and all of a sudden, somebody's got your number.
Yeah, I mean, words can't describe kind of like what happened to me. Like, I basically just got screwed in every sense of the word. Like, I just started getting cheated on UB, and then I was getting cheated by the Swedish guy. And so before all the cheating started, I was doing really well. I had a style that like no one could really adapt to quick enough, or at least not a lot of people. You know, individual players like would play me a little better, but some people just couldn't get the handle of like having to call huge bets.
Yeah.
You know, the pot would be like 5K. I used to routinely bet like 15K, 20K. No one's ever seen that.
Yeah, it's the kind of play that I think we see now with you know, Durr and Patrick Antonius and you know, Ivy and you know, those kind of guys. But you were one of the first guys really kind of doing that, just going all in on the river. You know,
I'd like to think that a lot of those guys took that play from me, because I can't take complete credit for that play. It's not like it had never been done before me. I actually took that from Huck. When I first started getting into No Limit, I hung out with Huck a little bit, and he would do stuff that no one else would do. He would call with bottom pair when someone moves in, and he would be right, or he would fold, you know, a full house.
Yeah.
You know, and he would be right there. And so what he would do sometimes is the pot would be like $500, he'd bet 2,000. Like, he would raise, the flop comes queen, queen, deuce, and now he bets 2,000 into 600 or 500. So now it's hard for people with like pocket eights, pocket nines, fives to call. Whereas nowadays, like if you bet pot 500, 400, people always call with those pocket eights, try to catch an eight, or maybe their hand's good. Yeah. So he would just have a different type of strategy. He would bet big, so where people are like, they kind of put him on a queen or a bluff. It's just a interesting strategy, and so I kind of developed it into my game, doing it a lot, and I would have, you know, nothing, and I would have the nuts, and so I just balanced it out enough for where, you know, they would think I was tilting, and you know, sometimes I would decide this next hand I'm just gonna fire 3 barrels and go all the way in. I'm just gonna, all the money's gonna go in. I don't care what I have, you know, as long as they're not raising me, like that's what I used to do. And
so what was going through your mind though when you started losing? And obviously we know now that these people had, you know, could see your hole cards, and did you suspect something was going on at the time?
Not really. I had like this tremendous amount of faith in online poker. Like the average conversation when I'm like eating food with someone, and you know, what do you do? What do you do? And I tell them poker, like online. They're like, aren't you worried about being cheated? And I would always be like, that's what everyone says, you know, but like I've been doing well at it for so long that I'm not worried about being cheated. Kind of laughing it off, like if I got cheated, well, I'm still making money, so I mean, I guess it's still good for me. But, so I just had like this crazy amount of faith. So even when I got called, like a guy had like a pair of queens and there's 4 spades out there.
Yeah.
And I bet like the pot's like 3K, I bet 8K or something. And he's just calling, you know, pretty quick with just 1 pair, you know. And then other situations, getting check raised. Every time I'm bluffing, I always get check raised. So I was getting a little suspicious, like maybe it's possible. But then because I'd so many years I'd done well, I just figured like that's just fluctuations, you know.
And I think I read somewhere you started changing your game somewhat.
I did.
Yeah.
I had to like tighten up, kind of knit it up, because it felt like every time I made a bluff, I either got re-bluffed or I got called down. So it felt like I needed to be a knit. Because you always have to adapt to the way people are playing you. So before I could get people to fold, or they would pay me off weak. But now it's just, it wasn't working right. All the overbets, I was just getting snapped off on overbets, or they weren't calling when I had it. So my timing was all messed up. Yeah. We know now why my timing was so bad. But I just figured it was running bad, you know? Yeah. I was like, that's the way it goes, you know?
When you heard about the scandal, like, what was your immediate thought? Like, how pissed were you?
I was actually happy when I first found out about it, because I
justify the losing.
Well, it just kind of made me think like, hey, like I really was on top of my game, and I really was, you know. I mean, I thought I was the best in the world, and I would play anyone. Like it didn't matter who they were, I would play anyone, and that's kind of made me become a big victim, because I never turned anyone away. If they beat me for like 5, 10 buy-ins, I would just keep playing. Oh, see you tomorrow. But you know, like I'm ready to like, my mentality used to be like, I'm gonna bust you for everything you have in your account, or you're gonna bust all my money. And I'm just gonna play you every single day until I beat you. And then when I'm done with you, then I'm gonna go on to you. And then it's just kind of like that. And I'm pretty sure that's the way Durr and a lot of these up-and-comer, like they're the big dogs now, but that's how they think too. You know, I think they're just ready to play anyone. Yeah.
And we have Chops on via Skype. Chops, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Not at all.
None.
Yeah, actually, Prahlad, I got a question. How long did it take for you to get your refund back from UB, and were you kind of happy with how that whole thing went down? on how they treated you?
Yeah, it went down in a weird way. There was a first installment of the returns, and I was happy about that because I had no idea that you could ever get refunds from being cheated. I thought that was just like, if you get cheated, you're just screwed pretty much. So to get refunds in the first place I thought was pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this other Swedish guy that cheated me, I'm not seeing any money back from that, and that was a lot of money.
And what site was that on?
That was all over.
Yeah.
He was like straight up hacking like into my computer, seeing my mouse move, reading my emails. Like he was in my stuff. And
can we just call that guy Isildur?
I was gonna say. That's where you got his bankroll from, right?
Right.
And like Johnny Lawden, Patrick Antonius, a lot of these other guys got cheated from the same individual.
We talked to Johnny Lawden at the main event this year, and like he was one of those typical Swedish players that was crazy better, and super aggressive, and I don't know if it's the him getting cheated or what, but I mean he really has just toned down his game. I think he has a kid coming, right?
Got a kid
does
coming.
he?
He has a kid coming. He just
Nice.
he's kind of going through the process you went through. Like he's slowing down. He's not playing as aggressive or playing the same stakes as before. And
it comes with age too. I mean, and like he's starting a family. I've had a family for a little bit, so you got to kind of like, you can't be so balls to the wall and going crazy, trying to challenge everyone and like get all the money and like be on top of the poker world. That's not really necessary. Like, and it's too risky. When you're just trying to make money, pay the bills, and live a good life, you got to just make good steady money. You don't need to be risking like going broke, because when you go broke, that's like the worst thing that can happen to you as a poker player. It's like losing your license if you're a lawyer or if you're a doctor or anything else. Like money is your license to drive basically, and you can't roll anymore if you go broke.
Yeah. And speaking about the refund, you obviously, I think you probably were refunded more money than anybody else, that we know about. Do you think it was an accurate representation of how much you actually lost? Did you look at hand histories to kind of calculate it, or how did that come about? Or was it pretty much like UB just saying, here's a shitload of money and be happy?
I went to Aruba, and we kind of just went there, we like Aruba. It's nice white sand beaches, and I cruise around, drive around the other side and go surfing. It's pretty cool. And Phil Hellmuth comes up to me and he said, Prahlad, he mentioned something about, did you get a lot of money back? Yeah. And I was like, I did, I got a little bit back, and he was like, yeah, because that doesn't seem right. Like your reaction, he was reading me that like I didn't get that much back, and he was like, no, you should be getting a lot more back. Mm-hmm. And so he introduced me to the CEO, Paul, and I talked to him, and basically they informed me that I was going to be getting a decent amount back. So I was real happy about that. It came as a total surprise. I figured the first installments was about as much as I was going to get, and they were informing me I was going to get quite a bit more, so it was just pretty much good news. My initial response isn't like, oh, I hate Russ Hamilton, I want to hurt him or something silly like that. Like, I just feel like the law should handle that. He should be behind bars for life, probably. I mean, for taking that much money and ruining that many people's lives, it's unfortunate.
Let's pretend Brian is Russ.
I was just saying, Russ, come on in.
Let's pretend Brian is Russ Hamilton. Yeah. Like, what would you say to him if he was here?
Wow. That's a great question. I don't know what I'd say.
Prahlad, had you ever met Russ before? Before, I guess, at any point?
I never really like formally met him where it was like, hey, like I don't ever remember like shaking his hand or like, hey, how are you, like, or meeting him. Like he was around sometimes, like at a tournament or something, and I remember people were talking about UB and they mentioned my name and he was laughing or something. Like, it's very creepy, these memories I have, and yeah, it's just scary. It's just because I would kill everyone. I'd be up like 100K, and then just some random guy would come in. I'm like, all right, let's play this guy, and I'd just bang my head against the wall and lose the 100K, Yeah.
When the KGC released that list, did you recognize a lot of the screen names on it?
Yeah, I did. I was like, wow, this guy was super aggressive. That guy was super aggressive, and now I see why. I mean, it's crazy.
And you still play on UB. I think a lot of people are surprised by that. And some people may even be pissed that you play on it because by playing on UB you support it somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say to those people?
Well, I just think that they didn't have to refund the money, but they did. I mean, maybe they did need to as far as their future business concerns. If they didn't pay anyone back, maybe it would be hard for them to continue having customers. But I felt like you get cheated a lot of places. I hear a lot of stories. Guy at a home game loses $1 million.
Yeah.
Guy loses money in Europe. Guys have contact lenses, and they can see the cards. You can get cheated anywhere in this business we're in. There's a lot of scummy people, unfortunately, and they find ways to cheat you. So to actually get refunded is like pretty good, and I felt like that was good. It set a precedent for other people to do that. I was hoping that might jump fire now. All right, now PokerStars is going to give back a ton of money, and we're just going to get rich. You're going to get all this money back. But so I feel like if everyone was doing what they did, it would be better. So, while people think, oh, you should never play on that side again, So I see both sides basically.
Yeah.
But I just felt like for a while I felt like, oh, it might be the safest place to play, really, just because the whole thing happened. It's like it's kind of like the joke, like if a plane or something goes down, then that they might be the safest because they're going to go through every process to make sure that every little screw is tightened, everything. So
it's kind of like it's funny that they changed their name somewhat to UB. They're not necessarily Ultimate Bet anymore. It's kind of like we always talk about like ValueJet, which is AirTran now, but ValueJet had that horrible plane accident.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to fly it, and they changed the name, and everything's fine now.
It's a little better of a name change.
Yeah.
I always joke with my wife when we take flights. I say we're going to ride Even Money Airlines.
Yeah.
Get you there half the time. Not a good airlines.
So but you feel pretty comfortable with like playing on UB now?
I'd say that. Yeah, I'm comfortable playing there.
It sounds like just in general, you're just wherever you play, whether.
That's my hesitation on that question is that like I'm hesitant anywhere lately because I keep hearing new stories. I just on Full Tilt or PokerStars, I heard the same Swedish guy was back.
Yeah.
The guy that cheated me a while back, he was back now, and he's playing under a couple of different aliases, playing PLO on Full Tilt and somewhere else. Can't remember his name on there, but. So it's just scary, like people are just still being cheated, and it just, when I play live, I win probably like 80% of the time, like a ridiculous clip. So like, why don't I just play live all the time? So I don't know, I've been considering like making that drive to Commerce, but I just still wake up and I'm like in my boxers, bowl of cereal, hop on there, and there's a juicy game, so it's tough.
We have a couple of questions I'm seeing in the Ustream chat. One from Michael Reed. Ask Prahlad about the day 2B hand during the main event where he called but didn't call when the clock was called on him.
Yeah.
Is it a riddle or is it?
No, that's
a question.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. That was crazy, and I don't know. It'll probably be on next week or the week after that.
Tonight's your day 1 airs.
Yeah, I should be on there a little bit. Tune in, guys. I'm on there.
5 minutes.
So what happened with that hand?
So that hand. So this is crazy. Basically, I'm playing with this real energetic guy, an amateur player who's really like, I guess, in the first day or something. I played with him, I think, on the second day, second or the third. But I heard he was like barking at people. He's like, arr, 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 like going crazy, standing up, like cameras are coming over.
Yeah.
And so now he raises from the small blind. It's just everyone folds. It's just us in the blinds. He raises to 1,500, and I just knew he had nothing. Like I could just tell. Sometimes you can just tell, like Navarro. Yeah. I could tell. I seriously. Sometimes you can tell when people are nervous. So I made it 6,000 with 9-5 offsuit, and he kind of like throws his money in like he doesn't care that much. Like I believe him. Like he probably doesn't have that big a hand. And so then the flop comes Jack 9 6. So now he bets into me 10,000. So I have middle pair. There's a flush draw out there, so I just decided to call. I was considering folding, but he had shown a lot of moves where he let out with bluffs and stuff. So I called, turns a 5. So now I'm like, oh boy, how am I gonna ever get away from this hand?
Yeah.
Like I have to put in all my money. And then he bet 25K, and he was like talking to me, and he was like super confident, like, and he was like telling me, because we were talking a little bit before that hand, and he liked me, and he was like, you know, he was like, yeah, man, I'm not gonna bluff you, and he's talking about his friends knew me, and like, you know, he was like kind of looked up to me as a poker player, and so he was like, so this is
put your headphones
on. So he put 25 in there, but he was looking at me like, man, like, hey, man, like, you better fold, get out of here. But I called it. Like, normally I would just move in there, but the way he was acting, like, got me to just call. So now I'm thinking maybe a jack will come and I can fold or something. Like, maybe there'll be a card that can come where I can get away from this hand.
Yeah.
Or it'll come one card to a straight or something. Anyways, river's a deuce. So now I'm like, how am I going to get away from this? And he puts me all in, and he's like, he's leaning in. He's like, look me in my eye. I got it. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I knew this guy liked me.
Yeah.
And I knew he was probably trying to, like, you know, looking out for me. And so, but I was so confused, like, does he have like ace jack and he's like looking out for me?
Yeah.
Like, he, you know, top pair, top kicker looks pretty good at that point.
Yeah.
And, or does he have queens? Did he like slow play? Was my read off? You know, sometimes you second guess yourself. And so basically he called clock on me. He's like, clock. And so like the ESPN cameras were on this hand, I think, the whole time. And so the floor man comes over. I'm thinking, I'm like, I really don't know what to do. Like, I could flip a coin here because he's telling me he's got me. Like, he has a huge hand. I'm like, does he have 7-8, the nuts, or does he have Jack 9, top 2, or a set? And I don't know what to do. And I'm like, how much time? And he's like, 10 seconds, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right at the end, I'm like, call.
Oh, that's right. And then, but it didn't count, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the floor man's saying his hand's dead, his hand's dead. Like, it doesn't matter. And as all that, it all kind of happened at once. He flipped up his Jack 9.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, his hand's dead, his hand's dead. So I just mucked it, you know.
Gotcha,
And everyone assumed like I couldn't beat the Jack 9, which I couldn't have.
Yeah.
But you know what I was trying to argue with these guys is that if I would have had a set, my hand would have been dead as well.
Yeah.
And so whatever. Some rulings either help you or hurt you. Yeah. So basically, the crazy thing was people were going nuts at the table. You called in time. He called in time. Oh, they were going nuts. They wanted me out so bad. And you know, maybe by the amount of people arguing, saying I called in time, you know, if I had to bet money on it, I would say I probably didn't call in time.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do? Like, just ship them the chips? Be like, here.
Yeah. So we'll see that probably next week.
Oh yeah.
You think?
Yeah. They'll play it because, I mean, they were going nuts, and then this guy was just, you know, making a lot of noise, and just, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so I was free rolling from that point, I felt. And I was like, man, I always got to be involved in these scandalous things, man. I was like, if I win this tournament, people are going to be like, oh, man, you didn't deserve it, you know.
And there's a question from Kev Math. Do more people ask you about your freestyle or about when Lissandro threatened you? Which, you know, I guess that was, what, 2006? Main event?
Yeah. When
you kind of, there was a whole issue with the ante, and you thought that he didn't put the ante in, and it ended up.
Which question do I get more?
Yeah.
Probably to rap or to freestyle now.
Yeah.
You know, but usually people will bring that up.
Actually, it's interesting.
It faded away for a second, and then then it came back. Like, it was weird. It faded.
It's funny, you can always kind of see like how much people Google something.
Yeah.
If you type in your name and then see what Google gives you, like predictively.
Yeah.
If you type in Prad Friedman, like rap comes up.
Yeah.
Lissandro comes up. Twitter.
Free throws come up yet?
I think basketball comes up now. So.
I think for a lot of poker players, it comes up broke.
Yeah.
I think it does too.
That's like the number one. If you look up poker players, it's broke. Yeah, it says Prahlad Friedman broke.
Speaking of that, for Yev, what comes up when you type in Yev? Timoshenko.
Type in Yev Timoshenko. It either comes up is a woman or woman, I think.
Okay. All right.
Wow. People are just having a good time on their computers at
Attractive young man, that Yev.
Sorry for it. Speaking of the rap, when the first one, the Poker is Fun rap, was that your idea, or did ESPN come to you and say, you know, we have an idea for this? Like, did you have time to write that, or was it total freestyle?
No, that was written. That was like from a song that I had already kind of finished, like a rough copy.
So you actually spent time on that?
Like, no, not on the thing they did.
Okay.
But on the song, like if you can listen to it on the internet, it's more fast-paced. It's more like a hip-hop song where I'm rapping fast rather than poker is like so slow.
I was waiting for like the bouncing ball.
You know what I mean?
It's
so slow, and it didn't match up quite well enough, so it came off really corny. You know, and it's still got 90,000 views or something on YouTube. Like people like are into it or something. Some people.
Totally. Yeah.
But then I get clowned a lot for it. But the new one
made up for it.
And I think we have is can we run better. The new one, the Prahlad rap?
In the main event, ain't been knocked out yet. Friends and fam got another cool sweat. Y'all remember 06? I'll never forget. But it's 09 just might be my time. Cause I'm moving my chips like a Riley vet. Advertising like I am a maniac. Ill reads, perfect bets. Well, but a pot or just the minimal. Mixing up my play, whole arsenal. I'm giving them, they all confused. They don't know what to do.
They all confused, they don't know what to do.
They making an E-skate face, all askew. When they stomach upset, they getting nervous, straight oxygen debt. So root for me to beat IVS, Fondiari, and all the donkeys. Get that 8-5 retire, make movies like Spike Lee. Peace, I'm out.
I think it's funny, somebody noticed you have different hair then.
Different hair, yes. I change up the way I look quite often. I almost went dreads a while back.
Dre to produce that beat for you?
That's my beat right there.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
I make my own beats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you wrote that the night before?
Not the beat, the lyrics.
The lyrics, yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of, you know, spent maybe an hour on it or something. Yeah. Tried to fix it around and came out pretty good, I thought.
Would you ever do a full album, rap album?
I already have like enough for a couple albums.
They're discussing your hair, by the way, right now. On the,
you guys like that hair? You know, it's kind of short. You know, summertime.
People on the show obsess over hair. Fucking believable.
Any questions from? I think I saw
one question about the free throws.
Free throws.
Free throws. Yeah, you were on Poker Tonight back in April, I think, and you broke Steve Nash's 60-second free throw
record.
World record, yeah. I think
I was there.
It's a world record. That's right.
It was 21, and you did 23, right?
That's right.
And there's all this controversy about the. I guess he had bounce passes, and you had non-bounce passes.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
But the accuracy of we do have that footage, but your pass, I think we talked about it, was actually more difficult.
I think he preferred the bounce pass. I don't think he did it.
It was more rhythm.
He liked the bounce pass, I think.
I think the bounce pass, not that I know, but it comes to you, and it's easier to
It's the momentum. It comes down, and you kind of catch it on its up bounce, and you bring it up, and boom, like that. So I was catching it here. I know that Steve Nash could probably get 23 or 24, but I could go out there for sure get 25. So maybe he could do that too, but pretty much whatever he can do, I'm real confident I can tie it or beat it. I mean...
And you said, I think during the World Series of Poker we talked, you said you may go for a new record.
I was in deep consideration of trying to, I'm always looking at goals that I can achieve, and I was like, well, what if I set the world record for most free throws in a row?
Yeah, and it's something obscene, right? It's like
like if right now, if the people out there were to guess, what do you think? Like how many free throws?
Go ahead, while we're waiting here, go ahead and type in the Ustream chat. How many do you think is the world record for consecutive free throws?
Yeah.
And we got 700, 900. People are starting to Google it.
Yeah, exactly. The normal responses are, should we wait a second? Well, the normal responses are usually like people say like 80, 100.
Yeah, and we had 700, 900.
200. These people might be in the know a little bit.
Yeah.
These people that guess, but I'd say if you ask like 50,000 random people, I think the average answer would probably be around 100.
And what is it?
It's 5,221 or something like that.
5,200 over 5,200. Wow.
Over 5,200, yeah.
Wow.
So could I do
and
that?
How many days would that take? What, Chops?
Who did that? 5,200 in a row?
It's like this older gentleman, and
Is he doing it granny style?
No, he's shooting it up. It's pretty amazing.
Is it Jimmy Chitwood?
No. And my record right now is 118. So
yeah.
I was trying to see like what kind of odds would I have to get laid there if I tried to do it within 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think people don't want to rack their brain to think about what kind of odds they'd have to get me.
I couldn't imagine the dedication, and then if you were doing it and you got to like 5,201, and you missed it, like
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
never do that again. Yeah, I don't know.
Now you play on a team, right? You play competitive.
I do, yeah. We play every Wednesday. We're off right now. We're in between seasons, but it pretty much never ends. We just have a few weeks off, and then another season.
Is it outdoor hoops or?
No, it's indoor. We play at Beverly Hills High School.
Okay. So you don't play the Venice League at all?
No.
Yeah.
I'd like to get in another league, maybe get 2 leagues going, because I love basketball so much. I just love playing it.
Did you play in high school?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I had opportunities to play college. I got maybe like 30 letters or something coming out of high school. I had opportunities to play at smaller schools, Division III, community colleges, whatever, getting scholarships and partial scholarships. What happened is I needed a class before I decided to go to Evergreen State. They were the Gooey Ducks. It's a real hippie school out there. Like, they don't have grades. People walk around with like the funny papers, like that's what they're wearing.
What's a gooey duck?
A gooey duck? They're like on the beach. Like, you take a rock up or something, and they're, I think maybe you can press, like, put your finger in there and they close up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. All right, the gooey duck. So I was going to be a gooey duck. So anyways, I needed to get one class to get into the school. And he was like, you're going to be my starting point guard. They had a brand new gym, and I was all excited about it. So I went to Highline Community College, which Brian Scalabrine went to, who played for the Celtics.
By the way, I love it. Like, people are chiming in on what a gooey duck is. A sea cucumber?
That's a messed up.
It's funny mascot, right? I'm a gooey duck.
But gooey ducks, that's hilarious.
So I needed one class, so I started running track and cross country at Highline Community College just to stay in shape. But I didn't want to play basketball there because I wanted to save all my eligibility. So anyways, I'm an announcer for their basketball team.
Okay.
I'm like, Brian Scalabrine, or whatever.
Wait, you are now?
No, I was back then.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of fun. So anyways, the coach for Evergreen State, he comes to a game, and he's like, Prahlad, I need to talk to you. He was like, I still want you to come to the, our school. You're still going to play on the team, blah, blah, blah. But I just recruited like 2 point guards from South Central Los Angeles. And I was like, what? And I just got so frustrated that I was like, man, screw that. I'm about to make the Olympics.
Yeah.
Because I was like, when you run, it's just you against the clock, you know? And I was just tired of the politics of basketball, and I kind of regret that a little bit now. Like, maybe I should have just went there and like fought for my position, because who knows, maybe I could have beat these guys out, just because they're from, Compton or whatever. It doesn't mean they can beat me.
Yeah.
So, but I guess I was upset that I had to run through all these hoops to get into the school, and then he's telling me I'm not going to play that much. And I'm thinking, if they're freshmen and I'm freshman, I'm going to be fighting my whole time there. And I just was like, man, I'm going to start running. So I started running the steeplechase.
Yeah. Nice. I don't know if 2 Jacks is Stapes, Joe Stapleton, but he says, when you say politics of basketball, do you mean your inability to jump high enough?
That's basically what I mean.
Hey, Prahlad, what did you think about LeBron taking his talents to South Beach?
By the way, that was going on during the main event, I think day 1D that you played, right?
Yeah.
And that was going on, and it was like, that's all that, people weren't even focused on what was happening at the table.
It's tough real quick. He wants credit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess those guys are friends, and they were meeting, and they were like, let's just try to take over the world over in Miami. So, I know a lot of people in Cleveland are upset at him, but I mean, it is a business, and he's thinking of his future, and he thinks he's better off there, winning championships with the Heat. Maybe he wanted to get out of Cleveland, I don't know. Miami's like kicking it.
If you've ever been to Cleveland and have the choice of living in Miami, that's probably not the worst decision.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people are upset about the way he went about it, and he pumped it all up, and I think maybe, he didn't need to do all that, but,
Speaking of like being promotional like that, with the Tournament of Champions, there was a whole voting process, and you went on Ustream, you're trying to get some votes. I mean, first of all, why was it important for you to play that tournament? And then 2, what do you think of the process? Did you like it, or Would you rather not have to go out there and lobby for a place in a tournament?
I personally like the process because when they pick people without a vote, they never pick me. So it was a free roll for me. Yeah. I figured I might actually get in something this time. You know, like I played the first NBC head-up championships. I was the first one out. I was 3-1 chip lead over Sammy Farha, but he came back, won a hand. I was the first one out, and I never got invited back. So Poker After Dark, never been invited. High stakes poker, never been invited. So I don't have an agent, you know, maybe helps. They like try to like, you know, call people up. You got to get my guy, you got to do this, you got to do that. So I don't have that going for me. So it's a little harder for me.
I mean, sort of by choice too, right?
Yeah, I've kind of tried to stay out of the limelight a little bit, kind of just, you know, do my own thing and not really like seeking a lot of attention.
Right.
But in the last few months, I've kind of, you know, promoted myself a little bit just via Facebook or via Twitter or whatever. I'm not trying to sell anything though.
Yeah.
So I don't even really know what I'm doing. Yeah. But I mean,
that's the funny thing because you don't want to be signed to a poker site.
I don't. Right? I'm not looking for that, you know, so-called free money. I'm not looking for a deal at all. I put it on Twitter recently, an article that was written about why I don't want to be sponsored. I just I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and so for me to walk around and constantly represent a site, I don't necessarily feel right about it. That's just me. I'm like a different animal. I'm raised super liberal, lived in, you know, Berkeley and just Seattle, and just I'm like,
so like if a hemp
money's not that important
to me. Like a hemp clothing manufacturer came to you and
that might work, because if it's a company that's just completely green and vegan, and you know they're not even probably trying to make that much money, maybe they donate some of their money to good causes. I mean, I'm all for that. I could wear something like that. The question is, you know, no one's really coming up to me with the hemp hats and all that yet. So maybe if they do, I'll consider stuff like that. You know,
you keep making noise, winning, and keep.
I'm building my fan base, but I don't know what for.
With Twitter and
so
Facebook,
just stay tuned.
They'll find you.
I figure I'm going to write a book eventually, though, and so I guess the more Twitter followers I have, Facebook, whoever just has.
You're a verified account now.
I'm verified, baby.
That made
I'm
you
verified.
Legit, right?
And now I got John Wall following me, so you know I didn't make the NBA.
Very cool.
But I got John Wall following me now, so that's good enough.
We have a question from the Wookiee Way.
Yeah.
He was asking if you've been on the big game yet. I think that's this week or is it next week?
I don't know. I keep telling people like I've got to be on this week.
Yeah. It's so frustrating with these.
5 this week, I think.
Is it? Okay.
I should be on next week.
I think it's frustrating. Like you go to the website for this show or other shows, and it's almost impossible sometimes to figure out, unless you're Kev Math, to figure out like who's going to be on when. And
it is a little confusing.
Next week is the last round of new episodes.
When they told me when I was going to be on, they kind of just gave me a window.
Thank you, Kev.
Yeah.
August.
Yeah.
So
you were the loose cannon, right?
That'd be pretty sweet, right? 100K free roll. Yeah. I wouldn't mind.
What was the loose cannon like?
I was calling him the second most interesting man in the world.
Okay. Yeah.
So I made a little joke about it. I'm sure they'll put it on there when they air it. But he was like a race car driver. He was, I don't know, he was an interesting guy. He didn't play that well. Wasn't too good a player.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to get any of that money.
Yeah.
But maybe I shouldn't say this much since I haven't been on.
Spoiler alert.
Oops.
And Chops, do you have any questions? Are you?
That's it.
What are you doing over there? Are you playing online or?
I'm not doing anything. I'm just watching.
And you're actually
I just put on the World Series of Poker.
So we should start wrapping up because I think people
we've gotten
complained that our show is kind of going into the ESPN broadcast.
Right. Yeah, no, I've got it on. I'm not wearing any pants, so I guess that's about it.
Well, you have fun in that Bieber chat room that you're in.
All right, we're gonna have Joe Navarro on in a second, and we're gonna say goodbye to Chops. And we're gonna have we sent Joe a bunch of videos of Durr playing like on Poker After Dark, and just basically said what tells can you spot by watching him. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what Joe comes up with.
You should have told. Did you tell him to not? Does he not know about the hands? Can he just look at him and be like, I think he's weak this time?
Actually, we should.
That would have been the best way to approach it.
He knows. He does know the hands. They're clips from YouTube of Poker After Dark.
So but it makes it a little different, right? If he's like, okay, I know he's weak here.
Yeah.
So he looks weak.
The funny thing is, and we'll go to it when we have Joe on, but he, one of the hands has Phil lock afterwards, like, or in the middle of the hand, actually getting up to the host and goes, I gotta know what Joe Navarro thinks of this hand.
Yeah.
So we show Joe the tape, and he's like actually emailing back. He's like, I need Phil's email contact info because I actually know some of his tells. Because he actually reaches out to the pros and he'll tell them what their tells are. Wow. Help them out, and then they still do it.
They still do it.
There's certain tells that we can't stop doing.
Navarro, he should have all the money.
Yeah. Do we have Joe on yet on Skype? Joe, are you there?
Not yet. We're still trying to get him.
Okay.
Someone says they're getting ready for chat roulette. Wow. I tried that once. It's a big mistake.
Did you really? Did you see a lot of penis?
It was it was like 20, 30, 40% penis. Yeah. So wasn't good.
I mean, I think in concept it's a pretty interesting.
It is. It is kind of cool. Like if you could see people and they're like, you know, hey, what's up? And they're like some weird people singing or playing instruments or dancing or something. I don't know. But when it's just cock.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that chat roulette might not take off too well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just while we're finishing up, waiting for Joe.
We may have lost Joe.
Oh really?
I am.
Did he? While we're checking on Joe, so the Legends of Poker coming up. You ready?
This Friday.
Are you playing any prelim events, or are you just playing the 5K main event?
I'm just playing the main event. I never really play like the prelim events. I like to just shoot in there.
Yeah, and you're playing some of the online series now, right? You played the F-Tops.
I just played the 2K. I just played the 2K. I got 7th out of 994.
Yeah.
Which paid 42K. First was 417K. So I was looking for my biggest payday ever online, but I came up a little short.
Yeah.
Because years ago I think I made 70K or something.
Okay.
But,
so you don't play many tournaments online, do you? You mostly like the cash games?
Yeah, mostly cash games. I'll play like the bigger tournaments. You know, sometimes someone tells me late, a buddy will call me up, be like, "You're not playing tomorrow, the 2K?" That's what happened with this one. Yeah. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll play it, sure." I don't have any money on there. Transfer some money, and then I'll play it.
You know, I wonder with you because you're such an aggressive player when it comes to cash games online and and live, and then you seem to do well in the main event. Mm-hmm. You seem like in these large tournaments, you did well in the WPT event last year.
Yeah.
You know, how much do you change your game? I mean, obviously it's two different types of poker, and I guess do you play off the the image that people have of you, that you're super aggressive and kind of tighten up a little bit?
I have to, yeah, because I have a lifelong image of just never having anything. Like that's people just always remember like those stone cold bluffs where I go 5 bets with nothing with 6-7 pre-flop, or I barrel off and all in on the river with nothing, that's 5 high. And they never forget those hands, and no matter how tight I play, I could sit there and not play for 4 hours. Then I come in, check raise a guy, bet all in, and I get called by middle pair. And so I'm just like, I don't really understand it. I'm like, are people, they don't observe? And so I'm forced a little bit to cut my bluffs down, you know, kind of overall, you know, to adapt to everyone else, the way they're playing me. But I'll certainly get in there and bluff sometimes. You know, when I notice someone's starting to fold to me a little bit, I'll be in there bluffing. So you got to adjust. But I can't play like I did back in the day, like because people are not afraid to call now. There's a lot of guys with money now. There's millionaires running all over, 19-year-old millionaires, and they're ready to call everything with bottom pair and ace high and middle pair, top pair, no kicker. Hands that like before were thought of as just easy folds. Like now people are letting the bar run all the way down with any pair, anything. Yeah. People don't like to get bluffed nowadays, so I can't do it too much.
Yeah.
But I still can't have it.
We may not have Joe. We may have lost him.
Well, we can do Joe next week.
I think, he might have been getting tells from us that we were going.
Yeah. And we're going to do the, hopefully with the Joe Navarro segment, when we actually have him on, we're going to keep doing it with different pros. So if you have any ideas or any recommendations as far as what pros, maybe we'll do Prahlad in a couple weeks. Go ahead and send them in via Twitter at TWI_poker or just hashtag TWIPKR. So we'll try that again next week.
Definitely. And for Joe, just because he likes doing this on a regular basis, outside of this show, if you ever see a clip from WSOP or Poker After Dark, email or tweet to Joe at Navarro Tells, NAVARRO Tells. Tweet him a link to the video, and he'll actually share tells with you. So he's super engaging on Twitter.
And then somebody's saying, tell Prahlad to change his Twitter background. It's crazy. And I think it's the picture from the Legends of Poker,
and
right?
it's just all doubled up everywhere. Yeah. Millions of pictures.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I didn't even think people looked at Twitter backgrounds, honestly.
I just look at them on my cell phone.
Well, if he
tweet deck.
Well, if this guy wants, he can send me a message on Twitter and let me know what that background should be, and I'll consider that. So Delta 214, let me know. What do I need in that background for you to be relaxed and just wanting to get all your friends to follow me?
Well, thank you, Prahlad.
Thank you.
And next week, we're done with the show, I guess, right?
Yeah.
No joke. Next week we have Kimberly Lansing in the studio. She'll be in town for the WPT Legends of Poker tournament. And Jess back with Poker Headlines. And hopefully Joe Navarro on time.